Irene and Jimmy, we are so happy to have you both on the podcast. Welcome today.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for having us. We're excited.
We pumped up. We're ready.
Okay. We're pumped up, Jimmy. We're the ones who are pumped up because we know you have so much to offer that you both have really you have gone headfirst into the subject of marriage. You have made it your mission and your purpose. You are excited about what you're doing, what you're sharing. And we would just love to start by hearing about your marriage journey, just when you met, what your journey's been, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So we met on the job. I was 21. Jimmy was 24. We were both IT technical recruiters doing our thing. I was in my cubicle and breaking up with my boyfriend and then calling my sister to complain about it and tell her that I just wanted male companionship. And before I had a chance to even hear the phone click to hang up the phone with my sister,
I was like, what's up,
lo
bro?
and behold.
What's up? How you doing?
Jimmy Rollins.
I'm the male companionship you were talking about.
I just picture you popping up from the cubicle wall, looking over and being like, here I am.
I was stalking her through the little cubicle hall. I was like, that girl is gorgeous.
So he asked me out. I literally fell in love with him in one night. Literally everything that I ever imagined in a man, everything that I didn't even know I was looking for. It was like boom, 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 boom. All on the first date, I was smitten. And the next day I went to church with him and that was all she wrote. I was like, I fell in love with you in one day. When are we getting married? So that was only knowing each other for 2 weeks. We were engaged 2 months later, married 6 months later. So a 9-month.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't recommend and you're not in your midlife or you're in your midlife.
If you're not, your kids are in your
don't do what we did, right?
Don't do it. So it started off great, but we hit those challenging moments in marriage and got dysfunctional, and we thought that was normal.
Yeah,
that was our normal. Dysfunction was our normal. We had normalized it, so we didn't know anything else. And we went about 15 years of just misery, existing.
Yeah, we didn't
miserable at sometimes. It wasn't all bad.
We were comfortably dysfunctional.
Yes, that's the perfect
okay.
Yeah,
and didn't know that there was anything else.
Like we really thought that resentment and not having fun and unforgiveness and anger was like normal. And so we had normalized our dysfunction for so long. We just thought that this is what a good marriage or a marriage that stays together and just exists is. And we accepted that as normal. And we found out very quickly that you can't get comfortable with normal.
And it took really, I like to call it rock bottom. We hit rock bottom about year 15, and between 15 and 18, we really struggled in our marriage. We were leading and pastoring a church and had 3 kids, and it looked like the white picket fence, all great on the outside, but really we were miserable on the inside. Church was growing, but the pressures increased. And as such, stuff in that midlife, kind of on the topic that we're talking about, things began to come up in me from my childhood. It's like in midlife, they kind of call it midlife crisis for a reason, because things from our childhood, if we haven't dealt with those things, they come up when God says our brain is ready to handle and deal with these things. And for me, I didn't know what to do with them. So we had reintroduced alcohol into our lives on vacation, and over a 6-year period of time, without seeing it coming, I slid down the slope of addiction. I went from regular drinking to habitual to dependency to alcoholism without seeing it coming. Ended up with an ultimatum from Jimmy: get help or I'm leaving. And so I went and got help. And
don't you wish it was that easy though?
It was the fast forward version.
Get help. No, you resisted for about what?
Oh gosh, I resisted for a long time. So the back and forth, the misery, the arguing, while my disease is in essence trying to kill me, and my relationships and my family, I really, rock bottom was the foundation that we rebuilt a healthy marriage, a healthy life, a new normal.
So we like to say, like, we've been married for 23 years and it's been about the best 6.5 years ever.
Yeah.
Because we went through that rock bottom stage. And I think Irene dealing with a lot of the things she was dealing with. I had my own family of origin stuff, junk, trauma, triggers, undealt with pain. And, for me, it was, bouts of pornography into our marriage, and then also just food addiction. And I think, I don't know if it's like addiction, but I really, I could really, I could really handle about a 30-piece Chick-fil-A. You know what I mean? Like nugget. And literally blew up to about 420 pounds. And literally it was the emotional weight. Like Irene's emotional weight was different than mine. But we laugh at this because in our marriage, I love cars, and I've had, several cars. And I think as midlife, we start to, we want the new car, the sports car, right? But what happens is every time I got a new car, I never paid off the old one. What traveled with me is the negative equity. And I think what happens in our relationships, in our family of origin, is that we have seasons of our life and people of our life that we've come into, that we've confronted, but not gotten over. In other words, I've gotten, let's say it through it, but I haven't made it over it yet. Yeah. And we keep bringing all of that negative equity along with us. And especially in marriages, we change along the way. Seasons change along the way, but there's still resentment. There's still unforgiveness that gets unresolved. And then by the end or the beginning of our rock bottom was all that negative equity built up from different seasons. And now we're arguing about stuff that we didn't resolve 12, 10, 9 years ago. And it all came to a head. But I thank God that, now we can look back on those moments and realize, man, we should have dealt with that. We should have talked about that. That even though we got over it, we weren't through it, or even though we got through it, we're not over it. And I thank God, on this side of it, especially at midlife, we can see now that we change, people change, things happen, loved ones, you experience loss, and all of those things is the body keeps score, like negative equity. And we realized that the body had kept score in us both. And now we were trauma reacting off of each other.
Yep. So we've spent where are we now? We have spent the last 6 years and 9 months, because that's how long I've been sober, working on improving ourselves aggressively and individually, and then bringing it together in the marriage. And literally the Lord has used us both to heal one another.
That's right.
Which is, I think, the greatest gospel message that we can preach, which is the union of marriage.
It's great.
It's interesting because I was thinking about that very thing, Irene, that you just ended with, as you were talking, that you're kind of both going through your own journeys, right? So, for you, Irene, it was alcohol and feeling the bondage of that. And for you, Jimmy, it was food and sounds like some pornography. And so you're going through your own journeys. And you've got to heal personally, but then you've also got to heal together. And I would just love to know, how did you do that? In what order? And how did that happen for you? Because I really feel like in midlife, maybe it's just right. Every couple has things, and maybe they're different things than what you're experiencing, but we all have them. And so we're all having to heal and come back together. And I just would love for you to maybe help the listeners with, how did you do that? Because maybe people feel like, how am I going to heal? And how am I ever going to bring this to my spouse?
Well, number one, I think the first thing was acknowledging the season we were in. So there's a honeymoon phase, first phase of marriage, right? And then there's the hot button phase. And the hot button is when the family of origin issues rise up, and we need to deal with them. And so when we accepted that this was a normal part of life and growth, that we are supposed to unpack how our past impacted our present, we started there. That was the baseline. Then that acknowledgement. And then we got really, really good counseling, and we did intensives. We did where we went away for a week and worked on our marriage. And, we did, so I was breaking codependency. We were really addressing different things that impacted our marriage. And what would you say, if I had to say order, I hate to say it, but it was crisis. It was rock bottom. But even before we hit crisis, we had been going to marriage counseling. We had been going to intensive. So at least we had done some work before we hit rock bottom. So once we hit rock bottom, I mean, it skyrocketed. We were in imago relationship therapy. It's a type of, you can Google it, IMAGO. It's Latin word for image of familiar love. And it's a type of marriage therapy where we got to address our communication breakdown. So they taught us the skill of dialoguing, where I became more assertive. We became good listeners. We became empathetic in the way we spoke to one another and respectful. So no more like outbursts and disrespecting one another and tearing one another down. And then with the help of the counselor, we were able to dialogue back and forth, and the healing came then. And the healing came through empathy, feeling heard. And Jimmy would see the trauma that I would experience because he became a good active listener. You know, and the 9-year-old girl that felt abandoned behaved as an adult in this way, and it impacted our marriage. When he began to see me as that 9-year-old little girl and say, man, I really, really can see, Irene, how much that must have hurt when your dad went overseas to go work. Now I can see the connection between when I leave home to go to work. I see the symptoms of rejection and abandonment, and now I can be a part of healing that.
Yeah, I think, you know, even if we reverse a little bit, is what I wish we had known then, and a listener might be in this phase right now, is like, when you look at your spouse, it's everything you don't feel like you married. Like when you look at your spouse, you feel like, who is this person I'm with now? And, you know, and why did I make those decisions? And that's just real. And I think realizing what's coming up for you, and I wish I would have known then what I know now, is that Irene is the blueprint for my healing. Irene is the blueprint for my personal, emotional, spiritual healing. And let me explain that. And so what we realize is that marriage is not only a mirror, it's also a multiplier. So what happens is God is letting me get a picture of me and the issues that are on the inside of me. And my wife is not making that happen, right? She is reflecting things in my past, in my family of origin, that I have not dealt with. And God is using this picture of 2 = 1, this picture of blueprint to uncover those things so that they can be dealt with. But many people don't look at it that way. And they're saying, oh, my spouse is, you know, the enemy, and my spouse is the one who hates me, and my spouse is the one who did this, 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 and this. So when I began to look at what she was saying about me, and it was really true, it just couldn't be heard through an offended voice. Couldn't be heard through the hurts in our marriage. And so now they're going to keep recycling or replicating themselves until I'm ready to deal with it. So people says, man, it's a multiplier. It's a mirror. It shows you, and it's a multiplier because it's going to keep showing you until you're ready to deal with it. And so why the enemy breaks down communication and why there's this warfare that is on marriage. It's not just your husband is angry or your spouse is mean or they've changed. No, there is a real enemy that is opposing this thing called your union. And this is why I think God or Christ, you know, how Christ loves us. It's an example, illustration of the church. And so the church is the hope of the world. Well, the marriage is a real life version of how God loves us. Now, how do we do that? We have to, all that sin, all that junk has to uncover itself so that it can find a place to be healed. It can find a place to be reconciled. It can find a place to be loved beyond what I personally prefer. And when I understood this, that the definition of love was not I like you. The definition of love was not you're amazing, was not you do everything I ask. No, love has to, the true essence of love is it's reconciling, it's redeeming. So it has to find something that's unreconcilable and something that's unredeemable. And then you apply Christ's love to it. Like God doesn't wake up and say, you know what? I think I'm going to love Jimmy today. I think I'm going to love Irene today, or maybe if they're good enough, or if they check off they read their Bible, I'll love them. No, he is love. He doesn't decide to love. And so when we finally got that revelation that the way that I love Irene is the way she sees that God loves her, and the way she loves me is the way I see God loves me, then I can use the mirror and the multiplier that says, what repetitive thing is coming up in me that I need reconciled and redeemed that you're going to love me through. Now she's not at me, she's for me.
Yeah. And he's inviting me into the process to help him with whatever, and vice versa. I could not be where I am today without you. Like 100%, you have supported me and cheered me on. But yeah, I think it's just that aggressive working on ourselves, not blaming, but saying, what is he reflecting back to me that I need to unpack? That's really my blueprint. What the things that it's bothering me about him is actually the things that I need to be working on.
I'll never forget in counseling when the counselor asked me, what is Irene saying about you? Because she's not here now. There's no one to yell back at. There's no one to be offended at.
Yeah.
And she said to me, are those things true?
And you were like, if I am honest, yeah.
Well, now let's deal with them. So now we dealt with those things individually so that we can come back corporately.
Yeah.
It is such a blueprint, like you say, of health, to have two healthy people. The healthier we are on our own, the healthier we're going to be together. What do you say, because our audience is mostly women, to women who say, I want that, but he isn't willing to go there?
Yeah. I'll say this. He wasn't willing to go there when you married him. He wasn't willing to go there when your kids were 10. He wasn't willing to go there when your kids were 20, and now they're adults. And now what do you do, right? You have to put him in an environment where it's safe enough that he can hear some of the things that, I'll say it this way, because men, that there aren't enough tools in his toolbox to build a marriage that God intended for him to build. So how do I get tools? I go to counseling, right? You get coaching. And most marriages struggle because in this phase, and women, my heart goes out to you because we're stubborn, because we haven't had a good model of what a godly marriage is. We're prideful, and you've had to put up with our crap for a long time. I am telling you though, if you can find a way to go to counseling to work on an issue together and not to prove him wrong in front of the counselor, he will begin to trust another source where he goes to counseling, and then you can talk to the counselor about what he needs to work on and the tools he doesn't have, and she can be the one, or he can be the one, to fill the toolbox. You can't fill them. And so I hate to say it, like, pride is just strong. And
well, emotions are strong in women, and
I'm just talking about the man part, because I've been in so many counseling sessions, coaching sessions, where I just want to smack the guy, just to be honest. And like, you have no empathy, you're prideful, you don't have many wins in life, so you're trying to get them at home, and you just need to lean into a counsel. So I'll say this, if you can get to counseling and work on an issue together, our communication is not great, right? We're trying to figure out how to deal with the kids. It's a setup.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now you can set that up. Now in your personal one-on-one, you can ask the counselor, how can you help me reach my husband in this? And then when he goes by himself, he'll get the tools, but you can't give him tools that he doesn't trust you to have.
That's good.
It's really good, Jimmy. Thank you for that. I think that gives a lot of insight. Irene, I would love to hear from you. You said something earlier. You said it was the way I was talking to him And I think we can all relate to that,
Mhm.
because it's not always the words we say, it's how we're saying them and the tone we're using.
Mhm.
So I relate right here. So how did you come to an awareness? And then Jimmy, I'd like to hear how that felt when she did come to that awareness.
I became aware that I wasn't getting anywhere in the way I was talking to him, because the reaction was defensive. The reaction was just not open. So when that shutdown happened, I began to examine myself. So this is one thing, if listeners hear me when I say take extreme ownership
great.
of
It's
yourself. I stopped looking at him and blaming him, and even the issue I wanted to talk about. What is within my ability to change? Me. I can't change him. So what can I change? And I worked with my counselor to talk through, like, how do I frame this issue? How do I frame this issue? And so I'm not nagging, but I'm, I have so many different ways that I've learned to reframe something.
It's great.
So reframing is just simply a tool that we can see something from a different angle. So it's like, oh, I'm hearing Jimmy yell down the hall, and that bothers me. I'm a 9 on the Enneagram. How can I talk to him about lowering his voice in the house? Because I grew up not being able to talk a lot. Like, I wasn't able to verbalize my emotions and my feelings. So I tend to stuff them and numb them. So it was really challenging for me to assert myself. So I became aware that I needed to let him know how raising his voice was impacting me. So I'm not going to yell at him and say, hey, Jimmy, look, keep your voice down. I'm not going to emasculate him. I'm not going to put him down. I'm going to say, you know what, when I hear, I observed this, when I observed you yelling at our son, Jaden, what I made up about that. So I didn't accuse him of anything. I didn't accuse, sorry, I talk with my hands. I didn't accuse him of anything. I said what I observed. And then I said what I made up. I made up that you were really angry, maybe. And what I made up was that your anger didn't match the offense. So I felt fear that my son would experience a broken heart from that interaction. And then so I didn't blame him. I just talked about how it impacted me. It reminded me of something from my childhood. And he helps me with it. He's like, oh my gosh, I hear you. He explains himself. And then we move on from there. Him mirroring back what he hears from me, literally, it's awkward at first, but telling me, what I'm hearing you say is that you feel fear when you hear me raise my voice. It reminds you of something from your childhood, and can I work on that? I'm like, yes. So it's like, I had just addressed the very same thing that I could have been nagging or yelling at him about or stuffing and numbing. I just address it differently now.
Yeah.
I take ownership of it when I'm communicating. I'm not accusing, I'm saying what I observed and how I feel about it. And then I end it with, can you perhaps lower your voice next time, or try to be more aware and conscious, because it impacts me.
Yeah. I think that's so good, by the way. I want to kiss you right now, but I'll say this, that as a man, when my soul bank account is empty of affirmation, I will hear everything as an accusation. Everything. And so
that's really good.
When Irene, in this language that we learned, which we're not perfect at, we still argue, we still have moments where we're like, oh, I can't stand you, and we just get over it a lot quicker, right? Because we have the tools. And so, but it's impossible for most men to hear any accusation. When I'm saying accusation, it could be just something that's true. It could be something that's real, when there has not been affirmation.
It's really good, Jimmy.
So when Irene now talks to me about something, she reconfirms what I've done right. She reaffirms, and she says, hey, you've been doing great with Jaden. You've invested a lot. I know you guys are playing a lot of golf. This was like a recent conversation. But I noticed that when he messes up, it feels as if, he can't do anything right. And what I make up about that is, and you'll hear that imago language all the time. What I make up about that is he's going to end up slipping back into where he was because he can feel like that he can't do anything right. So what I heard now, what I hear is not, you never do anything right with your son. Because even though she wasn't saying that, that's what I would hear. But what she started out with was affirmation. And when I have affirmation, I don't feel confronted. I feel coached. I don't feel accused. I feel like she's helping me get to another place with my son. And it takes practice.
Yeah.
And practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes things repetitive.
Yeah. So like you said, the issues still come up. We just deal with them differently. There's less resentment, less, time that we're just not liking each other. And so we're enjoying life more because we can let things go and move past them. But when we were at crisis point, for the listener out there that's like, well, I can't do that because I can't find, we've heard this before, anything good to affirm my spouse about. Do you know how many couples tell us that? And what
I'm like, really?
Like they
like
literally
nothing.
can't find one thing. I said, okay, then we need to start there. We need to go through a season of no negativity, zero negativity zone, where we need to change our brain to start seeing out of a different lens. Like there is something good in your spouse. 100%, they're a child of God. You can find something. Your mind is just trained.
Oh yeah, he's a provider.
Yeah.
I'm like, something.
Like,
he cuts the grass.
him.
He keeps the yard grass. And it's like, we're listening and we're like, even how you're saying that
is kind of nasty.
Is tearing him down. So I don't at all say that, there aren't reasons, if you're listening, that you should have that attitude. Like there are valid, real reasons. And I'll ask you this. The question maybe you should ask yourself, do you want to be right or reconciled? Because many of us are staying in the cycle of resentment because we want to be right. And when we lose our rights, and when we say, Irene took on a posture of humility that I hadn't seen before. Because I grew up, my mom was a strong woman. And when I married Irene, I was like, I'm not going to have my mom. So that masked itself in control. And so when she started to get healed, I was like, whoa, like now you know where you want to go to eat every night. Now you know, now you, and I had to, but she literally bathed that in humility. She bathed her health in humility. You know what? I do want Mexican tonight. Let's do that. Even though I know you don't like it. That's what I want.
And I went into his world too.
Yeah.
I was like, I know this may seem hard for you because I've never asked for what I need. I didn't ask for what I want before. But right now in this moment, I really want this, or this is really bothering me. And I don't want you to fix it. I don't want it. You know what I mean? Like,
I had a thought. And I think that for those who are listening, it's like you can be upset about the husband that you don't think you have. Or you can be a part of training that husband to be the one you need. And I think if we think that way,
that's good.
We don't have to revel in what he's not and start to pray for, speak those things that be not as if they already are. Speak God's word in the man or the model of marriage that he needs to become. Maybe he's never seen one. And you have the opportunity to display one so he can see it. And I think for me, this was like in reverse, because I felt like I was the female and Irene was the male, like, and so like,
what specific?
Just in our what we had seen before, and things like that. I'm just like, your dad was gentle. Your dad was, he was gentle. He was soft-spoken. I was never that.
Yeah.
Right. And so you expressing that you wanted softness. You wanted safety, not you want me to lower my voice.
Yeah.
You begin to affirm me,
Mhm.
not accuse me. I'm telling you, like, I've never said those words before.
Yeah.
This is like, I feel like the Holy Spirit, like in this moment. So I know I'm talking a lot.
No, it's like I didn't focus on what was wrong with you. I'm saying that, can I have this?
Yeah. What needs to be.
Yeah.
And I would say probably for a lot of women at this phase of life, this is maybe the first time they are saying, wait, I need something that I haven't had before. And it's scary to say that. And it's scary to know how it's going to be received. And then you try it and it's not received well. And so I think this is very helpful for women to hear this. And the other thing is, this stage of life, maybe you've had little kids for a long time. And so every night is just filled with bath time and bedtime and diapers. And then all of a sudden, or then it's soccer practice and basketball practice, and you're running. And then all of a sudden you have a little more breathing room and you look at each other and go,
who are you?
Okay, right. This either, who are you? Because as you mentioned, Jimmy, we change. And that's hard sometimes. Sometimes people don't change in the direction we want, or just the communication, you're out of practice, or you've developed those habits that you have normalized that aren't healthy. And so as people are starting to maybe have more time to invest in their relationship, what are some rhythms that you have? You've mentioned counseling, but what are some rhythms you have in your daily life that help you connect with each other?
You want to go first?
Sure. I think one of the things we decided, I'd say what we're not going to do in our daily rhythms. And so for us, for years, we don't have to do this now, but for years, we limited hard conversations to 1 hour, 1 day a week, because we had no fund deposits in our marriage.
Oh, that's interesting.
We said we're going to have 1 day. Ours was Friday at 11 a.m.
Oh, dang.
Not too early, not too late.
And we're not allowed to talk about it until Friday. And we would text each other the list on Thursday of what we wanted to discuss. Now, if you write down something on Saturday or Sunday that's really petty and go back and look at it Thursday, see if it's going to make the list, you feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the rhythms for us is deciding what we're not going to do.
Yeah. What we're not going to do. And then I think creating that margin for those fund deposits. So a lot of couples we meet don't even know what they like to do, what they enjoy.
Yeah, that would have been you.
For me, it was a while. Now I know what I like. I like to read, but he doesn't. I like to chill on the couch. You do. So we watch movies and chill on the couch.
We watch movies.
That's our date night. We'll go for walks. We've figured out that we like that.
The beach, yeah.
The beach, going and looking at furniture, at just dreaming and going to model homes, looking through them. Just where we're not making decisions. Talking about these young adult children that
rob our.
Yeah.
Like the only thing we fight about is them.
And it's not even a fight.
I'm not fighting, but you know what I'm saying.
Tension. So they create tension.
Yeah.
So what we did was we realized we needed to have a couple bubble. It's me and Jimmy inside this bubble, and we get to decide what comes in and what we allow in, etc. So we decided we are a one unit. They will not play us against each other, manipulate us against each other. We are on this unified front. If they bring something up and they're like, well, Dad said, let me check with Dad first, because why are you coming to me? You know what I mean? Like, you were just, if I didn't agree with him in the moment of something happening, I'm like, well, Dad and I still need to talk about that. Like, we get on the same page and then we come talk to the kid. Like, we really have created this sacred space where no, they're leaving, but we're staying. At the end of the day, it's me and you, Jimmy Rollins. Like, so I'm not going to allow a child, like, whatever's going on in their brain to interrupt our thing.
I think one of the recent ones too is Midlife is just our sexual needs changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so Irene, you know, she's at her peak, and I'm like, okay, like okay. But what we decided is really, it's really cool. Isn't it? Like,
it's so
I'm like, no, I'm tired. It's flipped.
It's different. It's different
right?
than what you've experienced up till now. Yeah.
But what we decided, this is a good rhythm. I think it's going well so far. So if, first of all, twice a week is just that's a minimum. Like, that's just a minimum for us. That's what I'm saying, for our rhythm. And then what we have determined, like, whoever turns it down, so like whether you're tired, whether you just not in the mood, you have 48 hours to initiate. To initiate.
Mm-hmm.
So because what we found is like, no one wanted to initiate. I'm like, what are we, 20? Like, we've been doing this a long time.
Right.
And, and we're acting like, do you want to do it? Do it. What are we talking about? Exactly. And so we just started having fun again with that, and saying how we use teenage language again. Like, no, we want to connect. We want to be intimate. Mm-hmm. We don't want to do it. We want to like,
right. But we do have
unless it's real quick.
We have code words now. We have code words, and I think every couple should come up with a code word when they are in the mood. And that literally only Jimmy and I know what that word means.
Don't say it, because the kids might hear it.
I know. We can't tell people. That's the whole point. But when we hear it, we literally giggle and laugh, because we know exactly what we're talking about, and we're checking in to see if one another's in the mood. So, but putting the onus on the person who declined, it works really great for us. And I think the other thing for me is just not feeling obligated. So not at this phase of my life, I'm not running around chasing kids in diapers anymore. And for a long time, providing, like, connecting with my husband was like, I'm providing him with something for a release, and I check it off the list. And you get into that rhythm, and there's no enjoyment in it. And that's not God's design for sex in marriage. So I think for me, the no obligation sex has created a desire again in me. And I'm looking at seeing how that sense of obligation was actually killing my desire.
Sure.
So so now I'm like, we slow down long enough, because that hard conversation day it doesn't. Well, no, I'm saying when it was scheduled, at least I knew I didn't have that weighing down on me during the day.
Like, I got to connect with this guy. And I don't
right.
These are so good. I feel like this whole interview is full of just these gold nuggets everywhere. And those were so good. What would you say? Are there any kind of last secrets that you have learned through this long journey that you want to tell people who are in midlife in marriage?
I'll say one thing, and then you got it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you cannot get upset about the marriage you refuse to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
word.
I can't get upset about the body I refuse to go to the gym and work on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all I got.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a lot, and good. It's gold.
And I say, I think do the work is the thing.
Yeah.
Because if I do the work on me, and I start to really focus on me, like God meeting my needs, weighing it, like, am I expecting something from Jimmy that only God can give me? Or that I'm supposed to get through my friend relationship with my girlfriends? I'm not going to get that out of my husband. Like, he's not my one all be all, like, to get all my needs met. When I begin to really just start checking myself, my motivations and my needs, wants, desires, communicating them, I can only control me.
That's right.
So I think when I focused on me, I began to reframe the way I saw him. And I would say just, that extreme ownership of yourself. You may not be able to change him, but you can change you. And as I got healthy, Jimmy wanted what I had.
It's true.
And it caused him to make the change. I was 2 years and 6 months sober when he finally realized, you know what, I want what she has. If she can do it, I can too.
Wow.
And jumped into his own recovery, and it's been amazing. So we're leaders, women, like we can lead by example. We can lead by going to counseling ourselves. I have no
Mhm.
problem when we would argue and he'd be like, you need to go to therapy. You need to go to counseling. Okay. I wanted to show him, hey, I'm willing to listen to you, that I need to go get help.
And I was like, you're not supposed to say that.
Right.
Right.
And then when
Well,
he see me transform, he in essence got motivated.
Yeah.
well, it's interesting because what I'm hearing is that instead of being a source of hurt, discouragement, harm to each other, you became a source of inspiration.
Mhm.
And wow, what a flip, right? I mean, that is just, and that's redemption. That's mirroring the heart of Christ. So, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Can you point to some resources, including your own resources, that might help people in this stage?
You talk about 2 equals 1.
Well, we have a ministry called 2 Equals 1, and we just released a new podcast called 2 Equals 1 Marriage Podcast on EXO Marriage. So if you go to EXO Marriage, or if you go to Marriage Equation on Instagram, or www.2equals1.com, you can subscribe to our podcast. And we're telling our story right now. We're in season 1, and it's 6 episodes with a bonus episode, and then we're gonna come back, we believe, for season 2 and 3 next year and get into some of these. How do we communicate to somebody I can't even stand?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I would say follow us. And then we also do marriage coaching. You found it on our website, that you can jump in with groups. We do a group all over the world. It's really cool. That people can sign up for it. It's like $39 a month, and it's really cool.
Yeah. And it's like, if you have a hard time getting your husband to go to counseling, this is a great first step.
It is.
Because it's live with us. We're joking, we're making it interesting, it's biblical, and then it's concise. And if you do the work and you stay consistent, an hour of your time once a month, like you will see some change happen in your relationship.
Your book?
Oh, my book,
You know the
Reframe
thing
Your
you
Shame.
wrote?
Yes.
Yeah.
Reframe Your Shame is a book I recently wrote. And what it does is it takes people through a journey of reframing what they thought was bad and how God can turn it around for good. So anything that someone might have going on in their life, it's not just about addiction. It's about anything that's holding you back from being the best version of yourself. And so I have that. You can find that at irenerollins.com. And other resources would, those would be 2 great places, 2equals1.com and irenerollins.com. And really, Reframe Your Shame, you can get it anywhere where books are sold. And if you know somebody struggling in addiction, if you are someone struggling with addiction, 100% get the book, gift it away. And if you read the book or listen to it on audio, you'll hear that this is not just a testimony. This is also a it's a demonstration of what can indeed happen in your life.
That's great.
If you frame the way you look at things. So
powerful. So powerful. Well, we are big fans of the Rollins now. The Sisterhood has adopted the Rollins. And we are so grateful for all that you shared today and your story, and just how you're delivering hope to literally people all over the world, and now to the Sisterhood. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.